The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everybody, sorry for the delayed start. Welcome to the Noyantis Usergroup meeting. Today's Monday, 13th of August 2018. Myself and John are here. As always, any questions or queries or ideas, problems, feel free to raise your hand and we'll get the mics open and we'll cover the content. So we're going to have a busy one today because we've already got a question. We've got some help regarding calendar. So we'll be doing that shortly. And we've also, but prior to that, we've got to cover the updates and we've got to cover some work regarding some updates regarding the Chilkat control. So without further ado, let's get going. Updates. First of all, Kojak have released, and they've released it a few weeks ago now, actually, but I'd missed it, so apologies for that. But they've released an update, 18.50. That's now supported. I haven't rolled the version numbers on because we can do that via just one central file. Well, sorry, two central files. So if you was to re-download the latest version of the installers, then you can use Kojak 18.5. So they are uploaded as of today. So basically, as always, you want to install, doesn't really matter. It could be the calendar, could be the command bars, could be the report control. Log into your account, download the latest version of the installer, and basically yes, reinstall, and you'll be good to go. And that's the latest version of the Kojak wrappers. Okay. Next is the Chilkat update. Now this is due for release literally any day. Did quite a bit of work last week on it. There's various updates in this build coming your way. The socket class is fully populated and basically fully usable and so on and so forth. Been using it in a particular test app and so on, getting good results off it, nice and fast. So that's got some good work coming to it. Sorry, that's a good work done to it, and it's a good update. And the example app, of course, has been updated to to show that off, of course. And there's plenty of others. Just trying to think of some of the ones which have. Just let me open a screen here and think off the top of my head some of the things which will be covered in this next build. And coming in this one, yes, the socket class, as we say. The JSON object obviously was already fully covered. The JSON array is fully covered. I think there's some work on the emails as well. The REST class has been fully covered because it was already more or less fully done. So basically continuing to fill in the gaps, if you will, with the full product suite of the Chilkat. And they've added to theirs as well. I know to do with certification, they've added a brand new certification class. They already had Cert Chain and Cert Store, but now you've got a full Cert class as well. So yes, lots of work on that. And of course, to go hand in hand with that is the task class, the task helpers. What I want to quickly show off today is some of the work in. We've mentioned the Google Sync to do with the calendar. That is and there's been some work on that. I'll just quickly, in case you've missed it, quickly show you some of the new options you've got to do with syncing Google Calendar. You might have already seen them in the last couple of weeks, so I won't harp on about it, but we'll just quickly show you some of the new options, and then we're going to quickly cover some of the QuickBooks Online. Again, not too much, but I do need to demonstrate some of the stuff because I've been asked to from a couple of users. So I want to quickly show some of the QuickBooks work as well. So for those who aren't familiar with the Chilkat wrapper, just like we've got our Kojak wrappers, and it's slightly different with the Kojak controls. You can buy just one single control, and then you get the wrapper template to go with it. So, for example, calendar, control calendar class, command bar control, command bar class, and so on and so forth. If you buy the full suite of CodeJot, you can buy the full suite of the wrapper templates. With the Chilkat, it is just one product, but that product is split into many separate libraries. So when you buy the product, let's just bring up their site. And I really can't rave enough about just how good this product is. But if we just go into, no, this is taking its time. Hopefully it's not my comms. What's wrong? I take it people can still hear me, okay? No problem on my comms. Okay, so when good. Only we've just taken on another office. Noyantis didn't actually say, but we expanded and got dedicated offices last year, and last week we actually took on another office. So we've just basically expanded a little more. So it's onwards and upwards, I should say, which is of course very good. So this is the Chilkat product. As you can see, you get there's a good 90 odd. I think it was about 94, might be 95, 96 now. Spread across all these base classes. So they all do talk to each other. You can use them all individually yourself and get your hands dirty if you want to on the comms. It can be a bit of work. Say for example, to talk to Google Calendar, you would probably need definitely the JSON class, the JSON object, definitely the REST. I usually use a socket to keep the socket open. Definitely a PFX, probably. Probably, definitely and probably. Bit of a contradiction, but I think you need the PFX library, and you'll need the OAuth too. So you can see there's basically you'll need a mishmash to help you on that, because some of it can be quite daunting, as well as doing the base classes one for one. So you've got a base class for OAuth 2, you've got a base class for REST, you've got a base class for JSON object, as well as each base class, we're creating the task classes as well. So here you can see some of the base class objects and the socket one I mentioned, which is coming your way, and so on and so forth. Then basically you've got the task classes. And our idea behind these is, rather than you do a load of hard work, we'll try and do it for you to make it nice and simple. So we touched upon the Google Calendar, which led us into this. For this, for the authentication, it's using the Google Auth class, which is using a service client account. That means with the service client, I've basically authenticated myself in Google. I've created a service client account, and I've said basically I want this JSON file, which is a master control file, to be able to emulate numerous users which have been a domain which has been authenticated in Google. So I'm using a different one there. That's the test one I was doing last week. Let me just change that. Change it to that one, and I want to use devat.com. That's one of the accounts I should be able to. So basically, that's my Noyantis JSON master control file, if you will, and I'm going to emulate this user. So basically, that file lets me emulate any number of users, which is brilliant if you've got, let's say you're using the CodeJot calendar control and you've got multiple schedules, so you can see multiple people at the same time, and each one of those have their own Google Calendar. You can then synchronize with a bit of work, of course, but I've done this in a user's application. It works really well, actually, and the speed's brilliant. You basically, yes, you can synchronize each one of the different columns in the calendar off to Google. So yes. So we can see here some of the new options which you've got, and I said the speed is good is because I've helped in the optimization. So we've just called connect. So this is using the task class, and what we're saying here is, I think the command. Let me bring it up on the other window so I can actually make sure I tell you the right command. Task calendar here, and it's connect. So it's just a one-line command, and we call it connect_calendar. And that, if you pass it basically a key file and a user, and it will connect you into Google. Now, it's not just Google Calendar. It will that is for connecting to Google Calendar, but you can also connect to other services as well, and they are the ones that are in progress. So the task class won't just be the Google Calendar. It'll be calendars. It will be contacts, so on and so forth, documents, usual things. The new things will give you these basically be able to fine tune and optimize your synchronization. So I'm going to do a download all. I do a download, I can get 10 events. Now, of course, all this looks, very strange. What do I need these for? These are the types of things, remember this is a developer's app, these are the types of things that you will store in your table. So, of course, you've got a database now with your calendar events in. Then what you want is a couple of extra fields. One would be the ID of the event within Google, and it's, oh, crikey, I forgot the name of it. They go hand in hand. Basically, let me just change that. It's e-tag, yes. So basically, that ID remains static. So as that goes off into Google, that ID remains static, but the e-tag will change on every revision, meaning that you can actually see when you're loading as externally the event changed. If it has, you need to synchronize that event into your application. Likewise, when you're opening your application, you can load them in and then query Google, and if nothing's changed, you don't need to go and change anything. So you can really get the best optimizations between the two. So yes, so you would need the e-tag and the ID. But to see that in action, I will just open up Google Calendar here, put myself logged in. Yep, I'm in there. Got a calendar. Here's my calendar, by the way. Let's have that there. Have that there. And these are for 13th of the 7th. Well, crikey. And the 6th, so we can see there for probably some last week there. And there we go. So we can see some appointments. I should be able to open up, let's say appointment 6 there. I shall open that. I'll change it to today. Okay, that's just updated Google. If I go here now, appointment 6 has changed. If I go off to the 13th, and there's Google updated. So now what we've got here is if I just do download all each time, we're going to be querying 10 all the time, which is great on the way in, but you don't necessarily want to do it all the time. So what I want to do is just say, only give me ones after. So I've gone in, I've populated my calendar, and I only want to know then, once it's open, any changes which have externally happened. So if I was to click download now, nothing else has happened, no changes. I go to my calendar here, and I'm going to drag that to there. Now if I do a download, we can see one event changed, and sure enough, it is at 6, and it's just changed. So now you're getting real optimizations. Likewise, on that very initial load, if you're using, chances are using our calendar, but if not, you could use somebody else's calendar. There's no problem with that. But you might only be looking at one particular area within the calendar, maybe the current week or maybe the current month. Well, then you can actually set these. So you can say on the initial load, I want to download all, but I only want to go from a certain date. Let's say the 1st of August to today. So if I set those, download all, this time I'm only getting August. We know we have some July there, but now we're only getting August, and we can put a time on there. So basically, by using a combination of these, you can really optimize just the data that's coming down. So I would recommend you, and this is coming in the next version. Like I say, this is really good to go. The calendar is there. It's in a production app with these new tweaks and so on, and it's really is good to go. So I would recommend you do your download, and let's just say hypothetically we are using one of ours. Oops, let me close that. Tying it in with one of our examples then. Just going to open up one of the calendars. calendar app using 18.3. Now I know that my 18.3 isn't registered because I was working on Reg3Com earlier. Okay, so if you are using one of our calendars, you've got, when you open up, you've got this range of whether it's the selected range or the whole visible range, but that would be the ideal candidate. So we can see here, we're looking at the 20th to the 22nd, or we're running, let's say, the 13th to the 18th. So I would, there's something wrong with the order that they're displayed. But basically, we're looking at the 13th to the 18th. So I would load from Google the 13th to the 18th. So that type of thing. So that's enough on Google. Any questions on what you've just seen? Or is everybody suitably confused? Nope, that's good. That's a good start. Okay, let's take that out of the way. And that one. So now I want to quickly go on the QuickBooks, and we're gonna just for a refresher, we're gonna actually cover some of the information you'd need for this connectivity and so on and so forth. So QuickBooks Online, we want to be able to talk to the data and perform various tasks. The demo app's been updated. There's some new functionality gone into the class, and the demo app's been updated accordingly as well. For you to go into, actually, I think I've got it on the other one. Just let me bring this up. Yep, just one second. I'm just on another browser, and I think I've got some of the actual dev opened up. Won't be a second, everybody. Okay, I'm going to bring this in. This is a sandbox company. We've jumped a step, actually. I go to developer.intuit.com. Intuit is the creators of QuickBooks Online. Okay. Now, developer, if you've not got an account, you can register for free. They don't make you take their monthly plan. And I mean, I personally use QuickBooks Online, but that was through an admin choice. Nothing to do with the integratability from the software point of view. I happen to like it, but you can sign up for a developer account, dev.intuit. Once you've done that, you would navigate to My Apps. You won't have any apps in there by default, but you would do. You create an application. I'm going to create one. I don't know if I can get rid of it afterwards, actually. And I'm going to go with just start coding. And I'm going to go for the accounting side. So I can query their general ledger. I can query the customers, the suppliers, their employees, and raise invoices, raise bills, that type of thing. So it's the accounting side I'm going to have a look at. My internet connection is a bit slow there today. Okay, that will give you basically, it's saying you've got to use OAuth 2. That's no problem. Got that covered. So that's fine. That's no problem. So that would give you some keys. Okay, a client ID and a secret, and it would create you a sandbox company, a play company, if you will, attached to that application. So we would basically want to do that is give you some URLs. Again, you don't have to worry about all these. The class will do all that for you. So you will need those keys. And you also need to set up some redirect URIs. Let me go back to, well, actually, on another window to make it easy, we're going to do this. We'll do this live. Okay. Probably chuck this away afterwards, this company, but that's fine. So we're going to want that key. So let's copy that key. And in our application, we will store that somewhere. So I'm going to put that in. That's my client ID. Then I'm going to have a secret. So I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to put that. So you would need these type of information stored in your system setup. Now it comes to redirects, but basically it's OAuth 2, which means it is going to want to present the user with some kind of user validation, some password screen, because that's the nature of OAuth 2. And when it's done that, in trial mode, in play mode, if you will, developer mode, you have the redirects, and you can add, if you like, the local host. So let me just take a look here on my other company, so I can just make sure I get the right keys for you, not the right keys, the right redirects. So we're going to redirect to a local company. We're going to do, local host and a port number. And I'm going to add that. So the redirect wants to be http://localhost port 3017. Can be any port number you like. I chose 3017 at random, but I'm kind of sticking with it. So we would add that. Let's just try that in our app now. So redirect, let's put that in. Localhost, I'm using sandbox mode. Port 3017. Let's see if we can get a connection into that. It's going to go off. It's going to ask, oh no, query redirect is invalid. Let's close that. What have I missed? http:// with the slash. Yep, don't see any problem on that. Let's try that. What am I missing on this? Make sure, because I'm logged in on the other one, I'm not getting them mixed up. No, I'm not. QOUM. Oh, ending E, ending. No, that client secret's not right. Copy. Paste. No, it's not copying that. Right, I think that might be the problem. Maybe let me copy that. It doesn't seem to be copying for some reason. Oh, that's annoying. Oh, that's really annoying. Why on earth is that playing up for me now? This is Microsoft Edge playing up for me here. Right, more than one way to skin a cat. We'll use Chrome. Go into my apps. We'll go to the untitled one, which is the one we was adding. Here it is. In fact, let's move that off completely. Here we go. Get to those keys. Ending MHE. I'm going to put that in there. Ending QJ1. Thank you. Okay, let's see if we can get a connection now. Just waiting for it to time out, sorry. Still got the error. This is the bugger. Do this hundreds of times a day. So perfect for the time, perfect for this. Do you know what?
There's a / after the port number in the
Well, I tried with
side of it, but
yeah. To be fair, I'll tell you what. There's one other way of doing this. Got the demo app. Let's get rid of the init. Should have just kept with the other one and just rotated the secret. It would have been easier. Right. QuickBooks. Just localhost. Right, okay. And let's put my secret in. Right, sorry, my keys. So I'm on that. Here's one I prepared earlier. Put that one in. Put that one in. Okay. Ask it to connect. Okay. Oh, sorry, it's over there. Let's bring it in. So it's saying, which company do you want to connect to? I'm going to connect to that company. Oh, it's this. I choose my other key. Okay, that's no problem. Let's carry on. Company 2, that's fine. Connect into it. We're granted. We can close that. We're finished with that now. I think it was a little too long there, actually. Just let me repeat that again, but a bit faster. Gives you 30 seconds by default. You can control the 30 seconds, of course. It's just what I'm doing. So, connect. Got it on the other screen. Here's what I say. Yeah, I want that company. This is the OAuth 2 part, and I'm authenticated. Thank you very much. Received unexpected response. Oh, sorry. Yes, I've not seen it. That's my fault. Gosh, should we start the webinar again? Right. Do you want to be sandboxed because I'm using test keys? Connect. I'm connecting over here. I'm authorizing company 2. Connect. I've got a connection. Okay, this is really annoying. Okay, can you give us 1 second, please, guys? I'm just going to blatantly cheat. Just going to set something going. Won't be a second. What am I missing? This is so stupid and quite embarrassing. Got the keys, using sandbox, using the redirect, and the port. Right. Right. Let's try this. I'm going to bounce off our server. Forget the local host. Connect. I've got my screen over here. UK company 2, please. That. Make sure I haven't got a problem on my website. Won't be a second, I think. Okay, sorry, that's, I think with my comms just been into the thing. All right, disconnect. Let me show you again. Apologies for all that. Absolute shocking example. Right, much better. Right, I've gone in. I've got my keys. For example, let me just go into here, bring that back into focus so you can see. You would get some keys, an ID and a secret. You would get basically some redirect URIs. Okay. I'll explain why we're using that in a second, but in sandbox mode. We hit connect. We get a connection. That's just one call, and we would get which company do you want to connect to. If you've got multiple companies, you still have to authorize it. I'm going to say, yes, I want to authorize that. Why? I think this is my server again. What the? Yeah, it's a problem of mine. Okay, I've just authorized. It's got the connection. We now have a connection into it after all that. By default, OAuth2 will give you a connection for give or take an hour. So we can see there, 1 hour, 60 minutes. Now, that's not to say you've got every hour to go and request a new token. What you can do is once you've got a token, is keep calling the refresh. Call it every hour. The refresh is good through to, and you can see here, till November. That's quite a few weeks. Top of my head, it's got to be like 10 weeks, 11 weeks, something like that. Maybe even more. So if you've got, let's say you have some kind of central program running, which would want to basically keep itself connected to QuickBooks, then it could do. It does mean every 3 months, give or take, you're going to have to go and redo the authentication. But that's no great hardship. We can all build that into our applications. So from that, at the root level, we can start issuing select commands to the actual backend, to QuickBooks itself. So we can say, okay, give me the employees, and we can see we've got some employees coming back. Or give me the, is it customers? Oh, okay, it's customer. And we can see we've got customers. That's great, but you don't even have to get your hands dirty to that level, because what the class will do is, let's just bring the class into play. What the class will do is you've got these predefined groups, which of course are used for the queue structures as well. Is we've got an account, which is basically a general ledger account. We've got a bill. We've got the bill lines, because obviously a bill can be made up of various parts. The header information, link transactions, the lines of the bill. Bills are basically, in the UK we call them purchase ledger. I think you'll call them accounts payable in the US. I think it's your general ledger is our nominal ledger, your accounts payable is our purchase ledger, your accounts receivable is our sales ledger. So basically, I'll make sure I've got the terminology right. But bills are basically people you owe money to. The taxes, so on and so forth, repairs, rent, that kind of thing. So there's the lines. We've got customers, of course, and you'll see some of these in action. Employees. Invoices are bills invoice you are sending out. People are going to owe you money at the end of this process. And of course the lines that you would expect to go in hand with that. Journals, if you want to do general ledger journals, so you can query them and you can post them and so on. I know one of the clients here today does exactly that. And basically the tax transactions. And then we come down to some of the actual methods that are called. So nice and simple. For us to connect, we can see here we've got connect. You pass it the client ID, the secret, the redirect URL, some of the things that you saw before, and what port number, and that will, hopefully you do it a hell of a lot better than I demonstrated, that will give you a connection in. That connection then, because I'm using the socket to keep it open, that will remain open for you. And then if I want to go off and do things, and we'll look into some of this code, we could query. So let's go with clients. Instead of just issuing queries, but you could issue a query, given the class, you can issue a query and an update against anything. So there is the query. That's reading of the results. And basically via that and a couple of others, you can start issuing commands against any of the structures. You combine that with the power of the JSON object class, and you really can get away with doing everything. But to make things easier, we'll look at this. So we're going to have a look at, let's have a look at our customers, download. These only play because we're in test companies, and we can see some customers here coming down. So here's one which I'd added. Let's go into QuickBooks Play Company, Play Mode. So where are we? Here's Sandbox Company 2. Just going to bring that here so we can see. Play Company. Oh, thank you very much. And there should be a company called 11114. You can see, oh, sorry. I'm going to update that. I'm going to say, no, it's, I don't know, Noyantis demo. That then has updated the sync token. And the way QuickBooks works, because of course it's online, so any number of users in any number of locations can be updating this all at the same time. So it wants to make sure that the right person is updating it since they wrote it, and nobody else is going to update it in between. A bit like an error 35, record updated elsewhere on the network or another workstation, that type of thing. So it does that by a combination of the ID and the sync token, just like Google use the ID and an e-tag, that type of thing. So if we look at our customer now, do a quick refresh on that page, and it is 1111 Noyantis demo. So that's us updating customers, and of course we can insert. Let's have a quick look at what that code looks like for you to actually accomplish that. And it is the connect, as I said. So I'm just doing some things for the screen. But basically, essentially, the one you're after is that line. QuickBooks Connect. The ID, the secret, the redirect, and the port. That'll get you your connection, either true or false. To download your customers, if you wanted to, which of course you probably would, let's jump to our customers, and your download all would be, it brings you back a total. So, and -1 means an error. So we can see download customers, we pass it to local queue, and here's a queue I've defined. So I can see here, I've just defined a queue, and of course, best way of defining it is to base it upon the queue structure they've already created for you. Then you know all the answers will be in the relevant fields. So anything that can come back from QuickBooks is brought back from QuickBooks in all the relevant fields. So it's a download. I'm just seeing if we've got any customers, so on. And to change a customer, just like we did a second ago, and the demo's been updated for this, I get the relevant record out of the queue. I then re-download it because I want to make sure that nobody else has gone and changed it elsewhere. And we'll quickly see that in action. So I re-download it. I call a local form, which I've only put a few fields on there. You can do anything you like to the actual structure, all within the rules of QuickBooks Online, of course. You can't, when I say anything you like, you can do anything you like according to their rules. So if they say a particular field is read-only, then you can't overwrite it for obvious reasons, that type of thing. But presuming you change the particular structures, so I've got a local group. Obviously, you've seen the queue that I bring down. So basically, I've got a local group defined of my structure. I download it into that group, given that ID. I pass that group across to some kind of form that I have locally. And then if it comes back and I'm happy and I've changed that structure, changed the contents of that structure, I then call the update customer. And that's the QuickBooks method there. And we take this approach with all of them. So it's update customer and download customer, update invoice and download invoice, supplier, employee, the usual, all the things. So you learn it once, you use it many times over. Different methods have different number of parameters. For example, the download invoice has the link transaction queue, the tax details queue, and the line queue, obviously the lines. So basically we download, call a local form, we do our changes, and we call an update. And that's as simple as it is. Let's see that back in action. I'm going to go back in. This time it'll put straight back into the connection. And that's because I store the previous token. So because it's got a token which is still valid and it's not expired, it will reuse it. I'm going to refresh it. That was its original expiry time, which was what, 11 minutes ago? Yeah, 11 minutes ago. Refresh that. Now it's given me another hour. So basically, I can keep that token live all the way up until 22nd of November. So keep bring our customers down. There we go. There's the demo one. This time I'm going to go, not there. I'm going to go into QuickBooks. I'm going to go and actually edit that customer within QuickBooks. So somewhere else, someone somewhere else has gone and changed it. So I'm going to have it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. File as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now in our app, it's still old. That sync token now technically behind the scenes is probably number 6. So we can see there, it's out of date, but if I press change on it, because I'm re-downloading it, it's re-downloaded the very latest version prior to me updating. So now I'm looking at the revision 6 of it, if you will. There's my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to do that as 5.1 and give it a primary phone number of 441623535, something like that. Let's OK that. Sync number has gone up, which is a good sign. We refresh QuickBooks now, and we can see, hopefully, there it is, 5.1, and so on and so forth. And if we edit, I expect to see a phone number somewhere. Yep, there. We repeat and rinse that numerous times over. So let's take a look at an invoice. Let's bring that down. 13 invoices, one there, a couple of there for Noyantis. Let's just bring up Noyantis. So I want to go back to my sales. I want to go back to my customers. I want to get to my, there we are, Noyantis. That's very good. 2 bills. No, sorry, wrong terminology. 2 invoices, which we've got here, agreed. I happen to know on one of them, actually I can't actually remember. Let's have a look at this one. We'll do some simple changes on this. Couple of lines. Shipping date. I've turned quite a few options on in QuickBooks here so we can see all the data and see it flow through. I'm going to change the due date to the end of July. Actually, no, I'm going to do quite the opposite. I'm not going to change it there. I'm going to change it in here. So it was invoice number 5. Let's change that. Again, this is only a local form. You could pretty them up and have them. This is just to demonstrate the actual the way it can work and so on and so forth. But we're going to change the due date to the 31st of the 7th. Can't change the total amount, that's read only, but we can change some lines. Well, let's just do one change at a time so we can actually see what we're talking about. So, I've got some debugging there. Please excuse me, sorry about that. Okay, I presume that's gone through. I kind of didn't see it actually, but let's have a quick look in here. And there we go, the due date's up to the 31st. Now let's go and change it for the lines. Now I'm going to change that particular line. Oops. I'm going to say no, its unit price is £2.50 and I want 1.5 of them. It's up to you to send all the data in the correct format. Okay, so if I was to do that now, it's going to reject it. Let's try that. £2.50, 1.5 250s is not £7.14. So I'm going to try to do that, and I'm going to get an update error. And I have got an update error, and here's the error. Amount calculation is incorrect, which is perfect. That's QuickBooks telling us you sent me, I was going to say a pile of, but I'll say a pile of rubbish. But basically, QuickBooks validation is kicking in. For those who already have this, the error trapping has been enhanced. You've always had get last error text and get last error HTML, but there are extra parameters to it. So the get last error now will also take extra parameters internally of the connection code. So is it an error 400? The connection code 400, page or 200 for success, that type of thing. And if it was doing something like an update, which you've just seen, if the update fails, it will store the JSON response of the update so that you can actually then say get last error JSON, and it will get you the JSON content. So for those who have already got this and so on, it would really be worth you looking at the latest one, because you've got much better error reporting. So we can see here that that's rejected. We'll try that same again, but with correct values. So 2 at 1.5. I put you a quick recalculate in case people struggle with that kind of calculation. But you get the idea. 2, and we add that. Okay, I haven't updated the total there, but when we submit that back, okay, I'm sorry about the debug. Okay, that's gone. Of course, got to take the tax into consideration. I think I've put it on a tax of 5%. So if we look here, we should have £4 plus tax. Let's take a quick look at that. And there's the invoice line changed accordingly. And it is. Tax rate. Quantity 1.5. I would have thought that unit would have been 2 there actually. Yeah, I would have thought that would have been. Let me refresh that. Make sure it's seeing its latest version as well. Yeah, total before £4. That's bringing down. I mean, that's a display thing on theirs, because we're bringing down the very latest data, and it's exactly as we left it. So, and the things add up. So, I think my nose is clean on that one. I think that's actually QuickBooks. So that's the type of QuickBooks integratability that you've got. So, as I say, you've got general ledger accounts. These are what the thing already currently includes. It's being added to literally all the time, as you can imagine. So those who already have it, you'll already see more than what you had before. So you've got accounts. We can download bills, which is your accounts payable, customers, employees, not very many there, the invoices, and your actual journal entries. So you can actually go and post. Take some from this account, post some to that account, that type of thing. Now, I know we've got questions on other products. Any questions on QuickBooks? I can see Bill's got one. I noticed the other day. Let me open Bill because Bill uses QuickBooks with his application. Hi, Bill.
Hello.
Hi, how you
No,
doing?
I didn't have a question. I was just as you were talking, you were going over the difference between accounts payable here
Oh,
versus
right.
what you call it over there. And the about 2 weeks ago, one of my customers in Spain had written me this question, and to be honest, it took me a while to figure out what she was asking. When And I noticed you said the same word earlier, is to create an invoice. You guys say raise an invoice.
Yes.
And she had asked me this question about raising an invoice, and I'm trying to figure out what she was asking me. And I just it's just a bit of trivia. I wanted to point out that in case somebody runs into the same thing that I had, because she's really my only customer I have in Europe like that.
Right,
And
yeah, it would be raise an invoice, or if somebody you was issuing a credit against it, then you would raise a credit note against it and that type of thing. Yeah, but that type of terminology.
yeah, I know what it means now, but at the time I really had to scratch my head and try to figure out what she was asking.
Well, luckily, I mean, I've done at the heart of any kind of a system is accounting. So, but I've done that for many years. So, you have any queries like that, just to what do you guys call it over the other side of the pond? Then just drop us an email or jump on Skype, and I can help you out there. That's not a problem.
Yeah, no, it was just kind of, that's the only time I've ever ran into something like that just was totally different than
So,
what we would, you raise a kid, but
so yeah, no, that's it again. It's terminology, but yeah, it makes for interesting times. Okay, well, obviously I know you, Bill. You use the journals and so on, but there's more coming. So obviously this update will be out. It won't be after today. I've got to admit. I'm going to go home after this, so it will be sometime tomorrow. So this will hit the streets tomorrow, so to speak. So okay, so I wanted to cover some of that from the QuickBooks point of view. If we wanted this to talk to live, obviously, then what you would do is put the ID and live companies, that is, because it's not like talking to the sandbox. The one thing I did want to quickly cover, just keep that token live, is you would naturally get an ID and a secret for production keys rather than developer keys. And the URL that you've got to bounce off has got to be HTTPS. Can't just be localhost. This is a restriction of QuickBooks. Basically, they don't really want, can't say they don't want desktop applications, but they've made it really hard for desktop applications because they want basically web integrations and so on and so forth. But absolutely no problem. We have a little PHP script set on our website, which is a HTTPS, of course, which you can bounce off, or if you want to copy that and you want to host it on your own, no problem whatsoever. And the line is a one-liner. It takes the content from that and bounces it on to localhost 3017. And I think actually I have put it as 3017, so I would use that in your examples. But yes, basically you can have your connectivity. So after they've done the OAuth connection, it will authenticate, bounce off there, and bounce straight back to the program, i.e. like so. So I'm connecting. There's our connection. Yes, I want to give access to that company. With that, please. Thank you very much. That says that, and that's it bounced, and you just saw that kick into life in the background, and that's your connection there. And all it's done is basically bounce off, and that's just nothing more than Chilkat just giving you a nice, OAuth allowed. But that can be closed, and that is basically the OAuth 2 bouncing off a HTTPS redirect back to the application. So, any questions? No. Cool. Then we are going to move on to the next one. I said it was a busy one today, and the next one is on the calendar. Just to recap on that, obviously there's loads going into this next Chilkat. Existing customers definitely use it to an upgrade. New customers, just so you get the idea what the Chilkat is. I said it's all the different parts. Just like like the Kojak ones. The difference is all of these are basically delivered in one DLL. So when you buy it, you actually buy all of this. And the same as the wrapper template. When you get that, it's just one template and it does all the separate parts. In fact, to go one step further, some of these are free and some of them are chargeable. So the JSON, which is absolutely phenomenal, it really is. For example, the JSON class, where are we? JSON object. If I want to build quite a convoluted thing, let's just say grandparent dot parent dot child dot name, and it wants to be Andy. So that's a structure in JSON that I want to create. There you go. It's just one call and it's just built you the whole structure. And it's the same if you want to go and get those values. I can say go and get me that element and it will go and get me that element. Or I could say go and get me dot name. Oh no, better go and set that. Let's just say child. Go and get me the child. I can't actually because sorry, that's not there. That's name and age. I'll have two there. But update that so you can see. Basically, it's so very simple. You don't need structures in Clarion. You don't need if you've got a full array. And some of the answers you get back for the Google Calendar and the invoices from QuickBooks or Zero accounting and so on, some of those can be quite quite detailed. I create the structures so that I can pass them back to you to use in nice, easy Clarion ways. If you weren't bothered about that, you wouldn't need any Clarion structures at all. You could just basically loop through just to whatever element you want to go and get. So it's really, really powerful. So let's just load an example so we can see here. Are there any arrays in here? Yeah, we can. Contacts. There's an array there. So it looks like it's account.contacts.name. So in theory, I should be able to do account.contacts 0 because it's 0 based dot name. Let's get rid of that. Get child 1. So I can query any part of it. So, and that, the reason I brought that up is in Chilkat, that element is free. Basically there's parts of it you pay for and parts of it are free. So just off the top of my head, the JSON is free. The private key access, the RSS feeds, I think Zip's on its own license, but string arrays, string builders, binary data objects, things like that. They're all free, but then you pay for different elements. The whole lot altogether is only $289. So it's for what you're getting all of the functionality, email, so on and so forth. It's not a bad product. It really isn't. Anyway, enough about that. Let's get on to our calendar question with Mark. So after all that, Mark, have you got a microphone?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi. Okay. So let me get that. So you sent an email through regarding was it loading of the calendar?
No. I actually what I wanted to do was to take the and I was successful at this the last time you helped me, but it was like last year. Taking the procedures and the data and the properties necessary to incorporate your sample app procedures into my app, so then I can make a lot of progress very quickly to modify that.
No problem. Yeah, if they can be of any use to you, then by all means, do so. Right, let me get that for you now then. So let's just get a side copy of the example application.
And I'm going to turn my voice recorder on for this too. So.
Well, this video this video, sorry, will be uploaded to tomorrow.
Okay, awesome.
So yeah, so it's on our YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube, do a search for Noyantis, and you'll see it in the August webinars.
All right, very good, thanks.
Okay, we will need our webinars folder, user groups, and let's have one for today. 2018. Okay. So I'm just going to open up the example here.
Okay.
Let's register. It doesn't really matter which code jock. Let's use the latest. There you go. Okay, one upgrade if you've recently updated, and especially if you're using the latest wrappers and the newer versions of the controls. Okay, then basically go to your global extension and reselect the theme. That's an important step. You will get compilers if you don't. So go to the global extension, reselect the theme. Okay, now from there, just going to copy in. So what I'm doing on the other screen here is there's the code jock install folder. There's today's webinar folder. I'm going to make sure that I copy in the very latest theme files. And they've got to be from the version of CodeJock you're using. So this is from version 1850, and I'm going to use 1850, which I'll set it to in a second. The reason I mention that is later versions, especially the 18th plus, round about maybe the 1802, something like that. CodeJock changed how they loaded the themes, and I'm not saying it'll do it all the time, but you definitely you will get the some GPFs if you don't use the correct theme from the correct file. Version. So if you're using 18.5, which I'm going to do now, then use the themes from 18.5. Okay. We've got that. Let's have a compile. Okay, let me go to that. Got the calendar. There we go. We open that. So here's the calendar, and you've got the update form. Of course, you can change that to your heart's content. The form, I think, takes an extra parameter of does it allow recurring? So here we go, recurring. And if it's got recurring, then something becomes enabled, and you can get to the extra tabs. So if you can use all this and so on, it's not a bad place to start. Okay. Have you got the latest version of the demo app?
Yes. And actually, I brought the latest CodeJock maintenance down and everything, so I was able to do exactly what you did and build the sample app successfully.
Brilliant. Things to note, because I think it might have been a while ago. I know you said last year. I thought it was older than that, to be fair. But then, work on so many different things. I've got to admit they all merge into one. But the quick pointers, and we've covered this. But I know somebody else on the webinar is also asking about the loading of the calendar and so on. Do you mind if we just open that mic up as well, and then we'll continue with yours, but we might as well cover the pointers. Ken, have you got a microphone? Just put person on the spot there. I'll leave the mic open just in case you do. But Ken was asking about the best ways of loading data and so on. Now, in the example app, we'll go with one of the simple ones. I think it's just literally called Simple Calendar. And the later versions, the original demo apps, used to load them a different way. I would definitely recommend you go to the new way. And basically, you're looking for, these are the main embed points. Okay, the main one you want is this here, file load records. And this is automatically called with some date parameters, depending on certain template selections and then user navigation afterwards. So, for example, going to the simple calendar, and I can see here I've clicked there. I'm in week mode. I must be in week mode. Yes, working week mode. I've clicked the 3rd, which put me to the 3rd to the 7th there on show. You've got 2 selections in the template to say which dates do you want to be passed to the load. Do you want just the visible date? Sorry, just the selected date, which is here, 3rd to the 7th, or do you want the full visible range, which happens to be, you just see there, the 30th of July, which is just grayed out there at the top, and the 11th of November, which is just grayed out because we're looking at October, so but you can just see those. The reason it could show you those as an option is you might want to bold the days which have got events on. If you did, I would use the outer range. If you didn't, I would use just this range. It means that you're loading the minimum set of data in order to be to get the data in. So this embed point, this method would be called whenever data is required. So file load records. If I was to put some debug into this, it would hit and click that, it would receive the dates 13th to the 14th. If I were to do that, it would receive the dates the 20th to the 25th, and so on and so forth. So that's basically to do with optimization. So I would use that embed point, and I would also load via the group. I noticed some code that's been passed through and so on have basically the older way, which was the only way originally, so there's definitely nothing wrong in what's happening. But early on, you had insert event, then you would set the busy status, then you might set the reminder status, and you would set the recurring status, and so on. So basically it would be one call, then another call, then another call, and so on. And that is an older way of doing it, but also it's more work because it means you are changing the event with the date and time and the subject, then you're changing the event again with maybe the importance, then you're changing the event again with the busy status, and again with the reminder, and so on. So it's a lot of I/O back and forth to the actual OCX control. What you've got instead is a group structure defined by the class, and basically you see this example here. I've still got some kind of loop. I'm looping through a table. I call a delete first, delete all events. So that will empty the calendar for me. And I'm just going to loop through a table. I'm doing a bit of validation. So I'm going to start at the start date. So pointless reading from 2001 when I'm only wanting the current working week, something like that. So I'm going to start at the start date, and the minute the end date goes past my end parameter, then I can break because no other records are required. Recurring is an exception to this, but I'll show the example of that as well. But yes, basically for non-recurring events, I would start at the start, finish at the end. I'm only going to read just the bare essential records that I want to, and then I'm going to prime a group up and insert from the group, calling insert event from group. And that is your best way of inserting the data into the calendar. It's by far the most efficient. So file, if it starts with file, it means that the template wants to do some kind of file I/O. And the load records is kind of self-explanatory. It's going to load some records. Just like insert record is going to insert the record, fetch, it wants to fetch a record, delete is delete, and so on and so forth. So you can see basically just like you would have the file manager class, you've got update, prime, insert, fetch, delete, the usual things. So you can put your code in there so you can see in the update it's just going to be a very simple access, try update. Try and put your code into the load records. And as for the calling of that on the extension, again, this is where it's changed over the years. So for anybody coming back to it after a while and so on, these are the things you want to be looking out for. You want that embed point. You want to use the insert event from group and the change event from group. You want to go to this tab, the update procedure, and you want to have it so that the calendar can control when the update is called. It will do it efficiently for you. So we can say, yes, we want to declare it. That's the name. of the actual procedure, and that's if you do get a return value back from your update procedure, obviously just specify it there. And this is when it's going to be called. So it knows to automatically call it on a new event. So for example, double clicking here is going to trigger the new event, and because the update form wants to be called on new event, it will trigger that automatically for you. It's put it to the relevant day and time that I selected, which is correct. So if I choose 12:15 on the 14th, I should get 12:15 on the 14th. It does that. So to see that in action, that's the new event. Event accepted and delete event are obviously the same. And then you can pass parameters to it via here. So I'm passing various parameters to it. I'm passing it what schedule. That calendar isn't using multiple schedules, so it's just going to pass it a blank. But it's going to pass it start date, the schedule, the start date, the start time, and then another. These are predefined. So we can see here that that's a predefined calendar, the start date parameter. So we've got various different parameters you can pass. And other is basically you can just pass it whatever you want. I'm using the last parameter to indicate whether recurring parameters, recurring events are permitted or not. So that's in action. Any questions on that?
Nope.
Nope. Okay, good. Okay, so you want to get these parameters, these procedures. Is it just the update you want, or sorry, I did just say about the recurring. The only on the loading, I would do the loading on the recurring slightly different. Let me quickly show you. Recurring. There we go. The loading, just do a tiny bit different. Still sticking with the file load records. Always stick with that. But on here, I'd load them in two passes. I would load the non-recurring in one pass, so I can go through on the date and end at the start date and end at the end date, and that's really efficient. So if I'm looking at the 3rd to the 5th, I'm only loading the 3rd to the 5th. For the non-recurring, that's perfect. And then for the recurring, you would have to basically load those via another key and basically load those into the calendar. You can filter them out and so on, but the reason I say that is you might be looking at the, let's see this, recurring in action. I'm looking here from the 13th to the 17th. Now I know that record, the start date of that won't be the 13th. I bet the start date of that is, I don't know, we'd have to open up the TPS. If I change that and look at the all, the start date was back in 2011. And its expiry is no end date, so it will run forevermore. So if I was loading just the 13th to the 17th of August 2018, I wouldn't have picked that record up. So I load all the non-recurring for the date range, but the recurring ones, because you don't know what pattern they're going to be applied, you do need to load those a bit separately, if you will. So I do two passes in the code. I do load the non-recurring using the date range, and then yes, basically load the recurring. We could see if it had a start date and a run for so many occurrences, you could put a filter in that, but you've already done the IO. Adding it to the calendar will cost you no time, so you might as well just load it. Even if the pattern is expired, you might as well still do that. Unless it's got a fixed expiry date of prior to the start date, then you don't need to add that to the calendar. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okie dokie. So, with that in mind, you want to be able to pick that up.
Yeah, let's just say we took like Simple Calendar,
Yep.
which is currently in the CalendarPro demo
Yep.
app. We just want to take Simple Calendar and copy that procedure into my new app.
Okay. So, in the other app, in the new app, I would already have the global extension added.
Right.
Okay. And I think it should just literally be a case of going into here, doing a selective export, grab the two things you're after, import them into the other, and you should be good to go as a base, and then you can start knocking them around to your heart's content, and you make use of what you can make use of. But
Yeah,
that
I was
should be.
struggling. You know, the big difference is just the dictionary. I mean, I was able to import the dictionary tables,
Oh
but
yes, of course, yes, the dictionary. Well, let's cover what we've got here. The main tables, you don't necessarily need staff. It's really up to you if you run a multi-schedule system, something like this one. So these, they call them schedules. We can think of them as, they call them, actually, they call them schedules and resources. But we can use them for whatever we need to use them for in our application. So, for example, they could be members of staff. Equally, they could be production lines on a machine, and so on. They could be a rooms within an organisation, maybe meeting rooms, and you've got a diary system for who's got what room, that type of thing. So it could be anything you really want them to be. Are you using multiple resources or just single calendar?
no, I'm going to use the multiple. I liked your table. I like that
Yep.
simple.
Okay. So you will need. I was going to say you'll need. Oh, I've got two open there. Left the other one open. You will need some kind of call it staff. I mean, chances are your system's already got some kind of login table or user table. If you have, that's perfect. Use that. That is just nothing more than, well, you can see the actual the actual table. It's some
I
kind
just
of unique.
imported I just imported everything that's on there into mine.
Right, okay. So basically, yeah, the resources you work by, let's just jump into that. So you've got a full understanding recurring share. These resources, you work by some kind of unique ID for that with a name. So you can see here that the unique ID is going to be the initials and the name. We should, 9 times out of 10, that would actually be, that's not very efficient. I would probably use some kind of record ID, for the unique resource ID. And the name and so on. So, yep, you'll need that table. You will need an events table. Or not necessarily, you don't have to call it events. You might call it activity. You might call it calendar. You call it anything you like. But you would need some table like this. Okay. Main things you need is some kind of identifier. You could be using. If you're using Cape self-replicate, your IDs might be string 16. If you're using full GUIDs, then it could be string 36. Or they could just be a record ID, a record counter, a long or a U-long. It's really up to you. So some kind of unique identifier, and then the usual fields, start date and time, end date and time, a duration, basically all the things that you can see here that you would really would you want. If you don't support the private flag and meeting flag, you don't need them. Just don't set them in the load. Leave them set to false. That schedule ID, this ID comes back to your staff. So if you're using a record ID there, like a long, that would want to be the long there. Just standard relationships. Okay. Color is self-explanatory. It uses Clarion colors. Obviously, internally the calendar doesn't, but that's not your problem. You use Clarion colors, and the class will do it for you. If you're using the reminder system, then true or false on does it want a reminder and how many minutes before, that type of thing. If you're are you using recurring events?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that we'll come back to those in a second. Then the rest of them are pretty self-explanatory. You don't necessarily need these, Mark. These are custom icons. I was basically giving you the facility. Let's just go to this. Let's do our file load records. Oh, sorry, I was on it. I'm priming up this group. Now that array, actually, I think I allow you to have up to 9. The control will allow you to have as many as you want. It's just, I thought from a class definition point of view, I think 9 unique icons on a single calendar event is probably going to be all right. It's going to be enough. If anyone ever needs more, I'll simply change the dimension declaration and issue an update. That's neither here nor there. Or of course you can just call a method to add an extra one afterwards. But you don't necessarily need those on your table. Your custom icons might be controlled via a completely separate mechanism. It might be an appointment system. Are they currently in the building? If they are, and you're storing their check-in and check-out status via some other table, then the existence of a record in that would control if you put an icon on there. So you don't necessarily need those fields. It really comes down to you want them. The chances are in your dictionary you probably wouldn't need those. You'll be controlling them via some other mechanism. I just added them for demonstration purposes. And you probably wouldn't need the markup text because I take it you're not using XAML markup language.
No, I'm not.
No, so you wouldn't need that markup. The markup, for those who are wondering what markup is, XAML is a full-on language itself. And there you go, markup. So we can see here that, there you go, this is using XAML markup, which can be quite powerful. If you think, I really would like it to look like such and such thing, you would go down the markup route. So, but you'd have to learn XAML in order to get your content in there. So there's pros and cons. Okay, so you wouldn't need those. You can control them yourself through your own code in the class in the file or records, and you wouldn't need the markup. The busy status is really, again, it's up to yourself. Do you control and display the busy status? E.g., this little bar here. So you can see it's stripy. If I change that busy status to tentative, then it's gone like dotted. And if I change it to free, it'd probably be clear, which it is. So it depends. Do you support the busy status? If you do, you're going to need it. If you don't, then just leave them all set as the blank, which will be this free status. So
Yeah.
that comes down to your own really your own requirements. Not everybody does that, to be fair. Okay, recurring then. You can't. There are some predefined recurring types. They are as per the code documentation, and you've got all the equates open to you. So you will see in the code. I'll just open 14 because it's as good as any, and let's just have a quick look, and we can see the recurring types. Recurrence pattern, recurrence state, recurrence type. Okay, so non-zero is not recurring, of course, and then you can see here, these are the equates: daily, weekly, monthly, monthly on the nth occurrence, yearly, and yearly on the nth occurrence. Okay, so all again in the example app that you would need you want those, and the reason we go back to Clarion, then we've got some predefined fields. So you've got recurring type, that's as per the equates. End method, how are you going to end it? Are you going to end at a particular date? Then great. Are you going to end it after a number of occurrences? Maybe it's a car payment, so it's going to be set to 36 payments. There you go. You know the start, you know the end. That's brilliant. Or you might, in our example, we had the fire drill. It's never ending. Literally. But basically, you want it to run forevermore. So as long as the calendar's ever running, you want that to run. So you've got an end method. Pretty self-explanatory. If it was going to run for n number of occurrences, you can also say you're going to need that number of occurrences option. Then you're going to need 3 parameter fields. And I can't give them a more specific name because those parameters change depending on the type. So, for example, if it's if it's daily, then I think the first parameter, I forget which way around it is it recurs every day, and the next one is but only on the weekdays. So that's parameter 1 and parameter 2. But if I said it's weekly, then it's going to be, parameter 1 is still every n, so it's every day or every week. But then this is basically a bit. It's Mondays and Wednesdays, so it could be 1 and 4, that type of thing. So parameter 2 is completely different now compared to the parameter 2 of a daily. We go to monthly on a fixed day, then we've got 3 parameters. First one is daily or occurrence, then it's every n number of days, so parameter 2 is now every so many days of the month, and it's every other month. So now you can see the shape and the meaning of those fields differ depending on the type. So the best we can come up with is just call them parameter 1, 2, and 3. And the shape of those, the content of those will be set to whatever is required of the pattern chosen. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So you've got your dictionary. Did you have you already got a table for kind of events, or
I imported your tables.
Right. Okay. Okay. So let's just try, because basically we'll just try a new app, and I'm going to pinch those out there. So I'll tell you what we'll do, just for good measure. We'll I'm gonna load up the property grid example. Okay, could have chose any, report control, doesn't really matter. I'm choosing another application.
Yep, with another dictionary.
With another dictionary, so we can replicate what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Oh, okie dokie. Let's have a quick look. 18.5. Let's have that. I need to copy. Remember the themes. Let's copy the theme files in to make sure they are the right one. Have a compile. I'm not even sure what dictionary this. I think it's got a customer table in here from memory. Okay, so we've got an example, and we're going to put a button on here called calendar. Okay, that'll do. Onto there. Nothing. Okay, so far so good.
Yep.
Start with the dictionary then. Don't particularly do that this often, to be honest, so it'll be interesting for myself, this. Okay. Property grid. Hey, I've only got a customer, fine. I'm going to, it's in one of these, isn't it? Synchronize dictionary with another, no. Import, yeah, I'll do that one. Import from text, no, don't do that. Maybe we do. Try that one then. It's a while since I've done this, okay. We'll take it from that dictionary. From calendar to property grid, yep. Don't want anything to go that way, no. But we do want our event table and our exception, so that should come across. I forgot to mention what that table was. If you're using recurring, then you will need an event exception table. Do you know what the significance of that is?
No.
Okay, so basically you've got this recurring pattern. The fire, just open up. Oh, am I still there? Sorry, I caught the microphone button. Let me just open this up. Sorry to digress. Quickly back to our recurring. Currently in our database, we've got obviously loads of records, but we've got one record for this. And if I said change all, so we're changing the master one, starts in 2011, runs forevermore. Okay. And it's told to run 9:15 to 9:45 every other day, but not weekends. And as you can see, there it is, every other day.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Now, for some reason, Wednesdays, we have to start that one at 10 a.m. And I'm not going to change them all, because if I change them all, I'm changing the master record in our event table. I'm just going to change one occurrence. So now that's there. Go out, come back in again, and that is there. What you've got now is one master record in your event table, and you've got one exception to the pattern in the exception table. I've called it event exception or event X, something like that. But basically, it's the exceptions to the rule. It's the exceptions to the pattern. So it stores the original, basically the ID, but the ID doesn't really come into it because it's meaningless because you've got loads of them, if you will. So it stores the date and time and other details of what should have been its master, basically its original occurrence, and then it stores the details of the replacement of it. So it's not 9:15, it's 10 a.m. Okay, and then you apply an event exception, and it takes those parameters. What were they originally? What are they now? And it matches them up on their matching values and pulls that accordingly down. So that's what the exception table is. We're covering that, sorry. So we're going to pull that across, and I'm going to pull the staff, even though we don't really need it. But there you go. So we brought those in, and let's just finish.
You don't need those globals?
I don't think I use them, to be honest. I'll have a look, but I don't think I use them.
Okay.
So on here, I'm going to add. Okay. So I'm just going to add the event table, the event exceptions, and the staff. Let's OK that. And now our new dictionary has got all these in. So let's save that. And the good thing of that is, I hope I might here, basically behind the scenes, the dictionary, just like the applications for that matter, the dictionary, of course they've got their field names, EVE, :ID, EVE, start date, but they've also behind the scenes got a GUID. And I might be wrong here, but I'm fairly convinced that GUID should come across from the old dictionary to the new, which means if you bring screens in, they should come across as well. Famous last words, of course, but hopefully that's the case.
Right.
So we've got a dictionary. Have a quick recompile of our property grid. Does it still work? Okay, yep, that's good. So we want the calendar, so now I'm going to bring in some stuff from the calendar. So I'm going to import from no, I'm not. First of all, I'm going to add the global. So I'm not going to get any import errors. So let's bring in our CalendarPro. There we go. And I'm going to use 18.5. I'm going to use, doesn't really matter, Office 2010 blue. That's as good as any. I always like to do a quick compile after anything like that. Shouldn't make any difference, but I always force of habit. Now, it should just be, we could import from application. I've got to admit, on the larger applications I work on, some might already have some extensions which, some templates which add themselves to the global and every procedure. For example, our docking panes one does, and I know WinEvent does, and just trying to think, there's definitely some others. There's certain candidates in the third-party marketplace which is a good thing. It's how they're supposed to work. You add it as a global, and it puts an extension onto each one of the applications. If you've got any like that, you're taking from our calendar example, so you're okay. But if you were taking from the docking pane one, what I would actually tell you to do is take a side copy of the application you are inheriting from, go to the global extension and remove the actual the one in question, WinEvent, docking pane, whatever, the one what gets added to all the global each procedure. I would remove it from the source application, maybe do a selective export and then do a selective import. So, I mean, do you want us to do the export import this way? It's up to you which you're more familiar with.
I want to do it the way that you're going about this now, yeah. Just try to pull that procedure in that gives us a little...
Well, let's try the import. I don't normally use this, actually, I've got to admit. I normally use the selective export, but go on, we'll try it this way. Might get my fingers burnt because I never use it. Do you know what? No, I'm not. I'm going to go back to the other. I'm going to back just like I wanted to. Let's go to our calendar.
Okay.
and I'm going to do a selective export. CalendarPro, that's fine, that's TXA. And I'm going to want the, obviously, simple calendar was one of them. Do you know what? No, we'll use the staff one because you've got one with the staff. You wanted the staff table, didn't you? So let's use the staff. So schedule staff, we want that, and we'll need the there was an update form somewhere. Update event. I think that was it.
Okay.
So we're going to have those two. Got them. Let's just quickly check that staff calendar was only those two. And it is only those two. Great. Back into our property grid, or back into the destination app, we should say. That was called staff calendar, weren't it? So it's going to be expecting one called staff calendar.
Right.
Okay, import that TXA. So I'm going to drag it from there. Okay, it's called that. Fine, fair enough. I'm just going to call that direct. So I'm going to go to my button. Obviously got the wrong name. It was called schedule staff. That should pull it back into the tree. Let's have a compile and see how we fare. Okay. Now we've got no tables. I'm going to. I'll show you what I've got here. So I'm just going to. Here's our example. I'm going to go into here. I am going to pinch. I'm just save me doing the data. I'll be honest with you. I'm just being lazy. But I'm going to pinch them tables, put them in here. There you go. I've got some staff and so on. Now let's have a run. And we've got our staff. And have we got our ABC for yes, and pull on here.
Yeah. The difference is you exported, then imported. That's what I wasn't doing, and that's what I forgot because I was trying to go directly from the app to my app.
And then and it said, I'll be honest, Mark, it's something that I do. Well, actually, I tell a lie. I do actually do some work for a particular client on literally a weekly basis, and I'm based remotely, so all our work is done via TXA. So I will send him TXAs all the time. So I'm well versed in that. The import from application, I do very rarely, and I mean nearly never. So the TXA is the better one. The only thing, like I say, through experience, is you could have an example app. Let me copy in one of mine. I'm not going to bring it in, but I'll show you the type of thing. So where's my folder? That one. Let me bring that open, and I'll just bring in the docking pane. And this is one of ours. WinEvent, these are designed to work this way, so you know it is correcting what it's doing. WinEvent is also correcting what it's doing, and I'm not picking on that one product. It's just it's implemented this in a similar manner. And basically, what it is your global extension. Here we go. Where's one of it now? Global extension. You add it once, and it will put onto every procedure a little extension. I haven't manually added that. It's done it automatically. So let's open up my utilities one. Just 1 second. Where are we? Where are we? Oh, there you go. Utilities. Okay, this is the utilities that I've got. I add that. I now look on any of these, and I've got an extension added. And this gives me a local class and some everyday utilities that I would want available to me on each procedure. Things like error debugging, checking your folders, and some APIs, and so on and so forth. Those type of things. So this is immediately available at me at a local level. So if I'm typing away, doesn't really matter wherever. I can do NYS utils dot famous last words class NYS utils. Just don't know why the code completion hasn't kicked in. But I could do NYS utils dot, and there we go, and I can go off and do, and there should be and so on and so forth. So to string, so I can do various different things which are available to me. The reason I mention that is if you were to be exporting from here, okay, and the destination app also had docking panes or utils or WinEvent from Ksoft or anything else which was implemented in a similar manner, then what it can do is export a copy of this. So I'm exporting, let's say, that procedure. It would export that procedure with its extensions. Then you bring them into the new application. That global extension is automatically going to add them, and you end up with 2 copies, which is really annoying.
Right.
Okay, so if you're going to do that in the source application, before you do your export, take a side copy. So this, you know, I'll do it here just to demonstrate. But basically, I would. There's my docking pane. Oh, where's it gone? There it is. There's my docking pane. I'd go to the app, and this is I do this on a weekly basis. So you know, I'd go to the app. I'd call it _ exp for export. Okay, and I would open the exp one, which of course is the same app at this moment in time.
Right.
I then go to the globals and any of the ones which are that way. So if the command bar was on there, I'd leave it. If the calendar was on there, I'd leave it. But I know docking panes will bite me, so I'll get rid of that. I know utilities would bite me, so I'd get rid of that. Then I'd save it and do my selective export. And I'd export from that version of the app without the ones, the global extensions on, which have got all the extensions. Because if now I go to one of these, that's been added manually. Typical, okay. But yes, basically the extensions would be gone. You wouldn't get duplicates in the destination. You're taking it from calendar, you won't have that problem. I'm just giving you the heads up if you take it from any others.
Yeah, good to learn. Good to know. Hey, you've just solved the problem right there. Thank you.
Oh, excellent. And take on board the extra tips about the file load records and so on. That's really inefficient. And if you did, just let me open up the calendar. I forgot one extra chain, if you will, in the link. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Go into the calendar. Move that out of the way. I'm going to remove that docking pane because I'll come to this next week and I wonder what that is. So simple calendar. Let's say you double click on an event and you've got the extension to say call the form automatically. So it's going to do all the calls in the right order for you, so you don't worry about it. The order that it will be is the event accepted will trigger. That's got the template to say trigger on event accepted, so it's going to go and call your form for you. What it will do, let's have a quick look at the generated code. Okay, what it's going to do is it's going to attempt, it knows what record. If we have a look at the parameters, you've got the ID in the calendar and you've got the record ID. Okay, and what it's going to attempt to do is it calls a method called file lock record. Now that will do nothing. It'll just pass straight through it. It's up to you to put your own code in there. But if you do your own file record locking implementation in your system, that's the place you would put it. So I know in my systems, I do have a table system where I would insert that record. If I can insert the record with enough uniqueness to say it's that record, table and record ID would be sufficient. If I can insert that into the lock table, nobody else has got it. So then I've got it. If I can't insert it and I get a fail, that means somebody else has locked it because the record is in there. So that type of thing. So it would call file lock record. Then it would attempt to fetch the record. Again, it's up to you to put your try fetch because you might use legacy and a get, and you might use SQL and a query, or you might use TPS and a access fetch, and so on. ABC, I mean. So it's up to you to put your code in, but basically it would lock the record, it would fetch the record, go off and call. Oh, forget that. It's just calculating a recurring state. But then it would go off and call the procedure in question, and if it comes back as completed, it would then. Regardless, it would then unlock the record if you've not updated. Go off and call the parent or class. Sync the file back to the calendar so the calendar's in sync with your latest record, and then it would unlock the record.
All right.
So that's the only extra ones I wanted to make you aware of, was the lock record and unlock record.
Okay, good.
You don't have to use them, but it will pass through them automatically.
Right. Awesome, Andy. Thank you so much.
No problem. No problem. Okay. We've got a question from Bijan regarding QuickBooks. Oh my days, we're up to 1 hour 50. I knew it was going to be a busy one today. Bijan.
Hi, Andy. How are you?
Yes, good. Busy, tired,
Good.
but good.
Yes, good. Good to hear your voice. Anyway, I got a question on the QuickBooks. It's more of a design question. I was wondering, how to approach this. Maybe Bill that uses the QuickBooks Online can maybe also help us. But the main question is, when you have an accounts receivable system in Clarion, and you have your invoicing and your payment processing here in Clarion, and then you have QuickBooks and you want to be able to sync between the two. Do you do it like in a batch mode, or do you recommend doing it as you change the invoice in the Clarion app, and synchronize at the same time, or what's the recommended approach in the design? Because we use QuickBooks Connect for a while, and it's always the challenge, in synchronizing. If somebody is inputting a customer there, if somebody is changing an invoice in our app, synchronizing the two programs is my main question.
It depends. There's no right and no wrong. I know it's like sitting on the fence, so to speak, but it really comes down to your requirements. I've done both for 2 different clients. One client, big network system, and they don't necessarily want all the changes to be immediate. They don't want them to be real time, but they do want to make sure that they're all flushed up to the server. Okay, so they have basically an external synchronizer application, which the terminals will write to a table or literally a folder. It doesn't really matter. They write to a mechanism, which is a bit like a stack, if you will. And they go, okay, I need that doing. I need to update that customer with these details, and I need to update an invoice with these details, or insert an invoice. So they work on a stack system, and the Synchronizer app, which just runs on the server as a service, sits there, picks up the job, and does it accordingly, and pulls in changes as and when required. They've got a control file which controls how often it does it and so on, but it pulls in the data as and when required and updates the tables accordingly. So when somebody next goes to that customer, they might see a different balance, and that's because somebody in QuickBooks externally, or maybe on their phone or online, has gone and changed their balance and so on. So they have theirs done via a central processing application. Another system I've worked on wanted all the terminals to be real time. So just like in their system, they've got a customer and they've got a balance on that customer and so on. And they wanted it, if they add an invoice on terminal A, they want all the other terminals to see that invoice straight away, which you would expect. But by the same token, they would want anybody using QuickBooks externally to be able to see that invoice as well. So all your balances are really real time. That's great. The only thing I'd say on that implementation is you've got to watch the synchronizing coming down, because you can have all your terminals doing it, but that's just not efficient. You've got 20 terminals all scanning for an external invoice from QuickBooks, then they're all going to find the same, somebody on the phone raises an invoice, on QuickBooks Online, so they on their phone app, they raise an invoice, then all 20 terminals are going to see that. So you're going to need some mechanism to say, I'm processing it, or terminal 1's going to bring it in, or terminal 2's going. What you don't want is 20 terminals all bringing in the same record. So there are things to consider in the importing. The exporting of the data, that can, if you want that to be as real time as you can get, then yeah, you could do that. Have basically each terminal send their changes, their data changes immediately up to QuickBooks. There's no problem in that. I just watch the importing of external changes. There's still ways and means you could do that, a last sync token, but instead of it being in memory, hold it in some kind of control table, that type of thing. But that's the thing I would be careful of.
Yeah.
For the outward data, not a problem. That can be real time as you want it to be. Literally put it in the OK of the update form, that type of thing. The Google Calendar, only because it's a very similar type scenario, what you're saying. The Google Calendar implementation I've done in one of the systems, that is done in a couple of places. It's done in the update, it's done in the calendar itself, obviously, so you're dragging appointments around the calendar, and you want your phone and your laptop and your mobile device matching that calendar straight away. So that's done real time, straight within the calendar. That's no problem. But they have also got external forms that you can call which talk to the calendar, but without it visually being on display. So it had to be put into a couple of other places. But because it's outward type data, it was fine. It can be done immediately. So it works quite well. It's just the downloading of external data. You just want to make sure two terminals aren't grabbing the same data and inserting it twice. That's the only thing you want to see. But there's ways and means around that. The IDs, just like in Calendar, just like in Google and in QuickBooks, every entity will have its own ID. In QuickBooks Online, all the IDs seem to be numeric. So the example before. Let me just fire this in. Close this. Let's open this up. We should imagine our token has gone now because we've been past it, but let's open it up anyway. Oh, wow, our token is still valid for another 2.5 minutes. So that's not bad. There you go, we'll refresh it and we'll get an hour, so that's good. Okay, yes, let's query that. Query any number of these, so we'll see that. Let's bring down some customers and bring down some employees. And the thing I'm pointing out to you here is they are just numerics. So you can store these in longs. So you got a 70 and a 7. So it's basically the ID and its revision, its sync token. So if, worst case scenario, you had all 20 terminals on a network system, all see the external data all at the same time, and all bring that data down all at the same time, then the first one to write it into the table obviously would get it. I would have some kind of unique key on these two, besides which you'd probably want that from an update point of view anyway. So you'd have a key on those two fields. And the second one, just basically, if it can't write it because of a duplicate error, it's already in there. And the third one, I still try and plan around that scenario. I've got to admit that's worst case scenario. But worst case scenario is, at least you wouldn't get 20 records of the same value.
I see. So you have the sync token. Okay.
Yeah. So most systems, zero. We do the zero counting. Now, you see, there's a thing for you. If I was doing one plan of a system, and if I was doing some implementation, and I know you've got your system for the planning and the resource, your application, I know what it does and so on. What I would do there is I would have maybe a source procedure. Well, need a window for the Chilkat extension, but I'd have a one-off procedure which did your writing to your accounting system. Okay, so you are going to create a new customer. Let's go with that. You're going to create a new customer. So we're going to go, okay, you've got your update form. You ask for various different fields, and we're going to say new one plus 44, blah, 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 usual stuff, okay? And they're active. So we've got a new customer there. I would have a separate procedure. You pass it some kind of data structure or maybe 1,000,001 parameters, but you pass it the required information it needs into this procedure. and that procedure is then responsible for inserting that into the accounting system. But the beauty of that is you could have a system parameter say what is the external software. Is it QuickBooks? Brilliant. Go and prime up one queue and get your connection and go and insert it. Or it could be Xero. Or, and we are adding this one next, Sage 1. It's the online version, of course, so it's Sage 1. So, but basically what I'm saying is you could then have one central routine receiving the parameters from your system, and then via some kind of system setup saying, okay, what is the accounting system you're using? One customer might be using QuickBooks Online. You send them down one path, or you instantiate that class and you update accordingly. The other person might be using Xero accounting. You go and do that code instead. And all these are very similar to each other. And one might be using Sage, and you go off and do that one instead. So the idea there is you have the beauty of adding not just QuickBooks integration into your application, but QuickBooks, Xero, and Sage 1. All of a sudden, your product becomes much more marketable because you've just implemented it into 3 of the best online accounting systems.
Yes, that's a great idea. Yeah, that makes sense. Sage is also very popular here. We have a lot of customers that use Sage. Yes. And then the other question is, in QuickBooks Online, Andy, do you support the customer payments as well? Being able to post the customer payments, customer receipts?
Through the payment API? I've not looked at that, to be honest with you. Yeah, I mean, the class, from the comms point of view, yes. It's just from a data structures point of view and the calculating the URLs, because I try and, this sounds really thingy, but I try and protect you guys from a lot of the underlying work. You saw the invoice before. It gets a bit, if I was to let's just do a change on, I don't know on any of these. What's that one like? Has it got much on it? That looks a big one. Let's have a look at that one. Okay, plenty of data on that. Let's copy that, and hopefully that's put it into the, because I've got some debug going, it's put it into it. So you can see here, and there's quite a JSON structure you've got to build to be able to post to the back end. And wherever possible, I try and protect you guys from that and just say, okay, there's a group structure and there's a queue. You populate what you want to go to the back end and I'll send it for you. And likewise, you tell me what you want to get from the back end and I'll get it for you. So the answer is short term, you could do it. Crikey, that's their own data and it's saying that the things don't add up. I said there was funnies in their data before. But basically, yes, from the comms library point of view, you could talk to it, and via my class, you could talk to it, but you'd have to create your own structures. So you would be receiving the equivalent of that, and then you'd have to pass it yourself. In the fullness of time, yes, of course, I'll pad as much as I can, but it is one mammoth task, as you can imagine. So,
yes, of course, yeah. Okay, yeah, sounds good. Yeah, it looks really good. Looks like you've come along quite a bit with.
It has. It's progressing all the time, and there's so many changes. The next Chilkat build is quite a big build.
Yes, looks good. Looks very good. Great, thank you. Yeah, I would consider both options. I have to just think about it a little bit. Obviously, the goal is to keep the support calls to the minimal. That's the goal. All right, sounds good.
No problem. Okay, right, now we've got next question, and I think it's the last one, which is good, is Conchi. Sorry, I asked again. Oh, let's just open the microphone. Hi, Conchi. Or Conchi?
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
Oh, fine.
Good. Okay. So I'm just quickly reading here. I asked again this morning, important that the problem solved quickly. The problem, that is the drag and drop from calendar to calendar. Is that correct?
No. Yes, but it's now new problem.
Okay.
What I send you per email.
Okay, let me just read calendar, and we want to calendar better.
Can you show and
Yes. Let me go to you. 1 second. Yes, there we go. Okay, you should get a prompt.
okay? Can you show?
I can see. Yes.
Yes. Okay. You have make new when I go here. It's okay, and I click and make the update. Okay.
Oh, okay.
But when I click here, like to read the drop ID. When I say ignore, they make one. Yes. When I say no go, moment. When I say next day, more time, I go, yes, okay.
Okay.
I click and I say about, then it's fresh.
Well, you were bought in the application. I wouldn't necessarily abort the application that way. It's not a very clean way of closing an application. Is that
Robert,
what command are you using? Is it halt or stop?
Roberto, Elias, can you help me?
Roberto's there. He's got his hand up.
Hello.
Hi, Roberto.
I've been trying to get your attention, but nobody turned the mic on.
Sorry, I forgot. I was looking at the screen.
Okay. Dice que si utilizaste algún comando de halt ahí para salirte, porque eso no viene del template, eso tú lo hiciste con tu código.
¿El qué?
Lo del halt, seguramente, o del stop.
Claro, porque está buscando la drop ID y,
sí.
no la encuentra. Porque se queda...
What she's saying is that when she puts it down, it's looking for the drop ID, but the drop ID is empty.
Yes, when I not to drop ID, yes, should not make...
A ver, dime en español y lo traduzco.
I thought we sorted this
cuando
2 weeks
hago
ago,
sin
3 weeks.
pasarle.
A ver, ¿cuando haces qué?
Sin pasarle. Si empiezo aquí sin pasarle la drop ID.
Okay, if she just does there and does a double click on the calendar,
yes,
que no pase nada.
Nothing happens. See, it doesn't add a record or anything.
Has she got code in the what are the extensions? I mean, I need to see what the template settings are for that.
Que si puedes ir a las configuraciones del template para ver cómo lo tienes configurado.
Here, here.
Where do you want to see it?
So go to it's on there, the default procedure. So it's not called on new event. So if you double click, unless she's doing the work herself, it won't do it.
Dice que no hace nada porque no lo llama cuando tiene un nuevo evento, porque lo tienes apagado.
Sí, claro, eso es lo que quiero, que no haga un nuevo evento.
She says that's what she wants, not to have it do any event. But the first time that she drops and she double clicks again, then there is an event that triggers. See? She's going to drop one there.
Well, it's got to be that. Okay.
And so when she double clicks somewhere else,
yep,
it tries to create it. See?
Just sorry, run that by me again. Yep, just do the steps again one more time, please.
Ok, Conchis, empiézalo de nuevo, agrega uno y luego dale doble clic abajo como dices.
Yo agrego uno
It drags
y
one,
ahora
okay?
tiene Drop ID, ¿vale? Entonces, aquí.
Y luego le haces
nada
doble
más,
clic abajo, ¿no? Nada más.
doble clic
So she
abajo.
just double clicks below.
Ahora no ha pasado.
No,
Solo
it didn't happen.
pasa la primera vez.
It just happens the first time, she says.
So I go now. Okay. I go double click of the mate and it's okay, update. But now I click double and I like to search the drop ID.
Yeah, so she added a message there to look at the drop ID because it's trying to insert another record, even though that's turned off. It seems. That's what it looks like to me. But only ignore.
Yeah.
Ignore and then next one. Oh.
And it creates the record, see?
Yeah,
Yes,
I'm sure a couple of weeks ago we did this for the calendar. Just let me have a quick look. Just open it here so I'm quiet. I'm just looking. We did the drag and drop. It was in the same procedure, but that's kind of irrelevant, to be honest. Drag and drop. Just let me move you over there. 1 second. What version is that using? 18.4, right.
Ya salió la 18.5, Conchis, ¿eh?
Sí.
So when do we have updates for 18.5?
They're out. I said at the start of the webinar. Just re-download.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're out today.
All right.
Yeah, re-download the current installer, and you're good to go.
All right.
¿Ya la ha sacado o todavía no?
Él está checando en su calendario.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm trying that there. And okay. I double
We're
click
not seeing
there.
your screen now.
Yep. Okay. Sorry. Right. Where are we? Okay. Was it this one or was it one of the others? Just making sure I've got the right example. No, wasn't that one.
¿Está enseñando algo o estoy todavía con mi pantalla?
Él ya está bien, está en la pantalla de él.
That was last week's calendar to calendar. So that's the calendar to calendar for last week. Okay, I think it was this one. So we had it where if you double click, okay, you want nothing. Okay.
Right. So you set that in the template.
Yeah, but mine's set to do the work on the template. But basically on the drop there, it should recognise it's Andy Wilton. That's okay. And if you remember, we had it where it was using the drop ID. So I was double clicking there, and we were still getting the Andy Wilton. But now it's not. So I would say take a look. I think she's got her own work under the new event. And I would try and tie it into the workings of this without looking at all the code and so on and so forth. It's kind of it's going to be a bit of a hard one to diagnose. But what this did have the issue. I can send a copy of this, although it's just the standard one now, to be fair. But if you remember, we had it so we could drop BG over there, and it wasn't recognizing it was over. So now you get two, one for Andy and one for Billy G. But this was all the issue. But the 406 build fixed this, and I presume she's on 406.
Yeah, she downloaded that one.
Yeah,
I haven't.
I thought she had. Yeah. So so just to let me get rid of some of these. Okay, so out and in. So to replicate Conji, so she's the first time she's doing it, she's dragging one and dropping. Yep.
Yes.
Say there.
Mhm.
Brilliant. So we can insert or we can cancel, but we'll insert. Now, what do I want to do now? Do I want to double click here?
Yes.
And what does she want to happen then?
Yes. My problem is when I make drag and drop.
It shouldn't do anything. It shouldn't insert, and it's inserting a record. That's what it's doing.
But she's controlling because she's not doing it via the template, the new event. She's got her own code in there. It's what that code is doing. In what is that code checking? I think it might be checking the wrong thing.
Que puede ser tu código, Conchis, porque eso no. Well, can we turn off the update event here on this one? I mean the insert.
But you won't get anything. But we can do that, of course. Let me, because that's from the other week. Let's copy that into this week's.
Yo no quiero que se abra el update cuando hace el drag and drop.
Yeah, she doesn't want the form to open up when she does the drag and drop. She's got it through code. And so she's inserting. Y entonces lo que dice Conchis es que en tu código estás corriendo eso del doble clic, seguramente. Entonces tiene datos ahí. A lo mejor lo que deberías de hacer es ponerle un if. Si el drop ID es igual a 0, pues ignorarlo, ¿no? Porque el drop ID es blanco, ¿no? ¿O qué es? La segunda vez.
Claro.
Cuando le haces doble clic, ¿hay drop ID o no?
No.
Pues es la cosa, podrías tratar de checar que no haya drop ID y no corre el código, porque ese código lo estás corriendo de alguna manera tú, porque no lo hace el template.
Podría ser como, ¿te acuerdas de que intentamos borrarlo? El drop ID y no lo conseguíamos.
Sí, el drop ID nunca lo pudimos borrar, pero ahí ya no te lo está enseñando, según el mensaje que estás sacando.
Tengo que mirar.
Porque seguramente es tu código.
Okay, so what do you want? Do you want the new event turning off?
Yeah, so that it doesn't insert on double click.
Okay. But is that all the time? She never wants it to insert on double click?
No, because she drags and drops. She never inserts on a double click.
Okay. Okay. Update. So she's got that turned off, of course, which we thought earlier.
And it only works on a drop. And she doesn't show the form. She just adds the information there.
Got you. Okay, so let's get rid of that. Get rid of that. Okay. So in there, so I can drag there. Oh no, we're not getting any. And she's got a code on the double.
She's got a code where it inserts it. But in this case, since you deleted the update one, you didn't delete the insert one.
Yeah, the double click,
the insert one.
The drag and drop will be implemented on the double click on the new event. Okay, no problem. No problem. Let's have a look.
I remember we weren't able to clear out the drag ID also, or was it the drop ID? One of the two,
Yep.
which was a mess.
Okay, so I can double click here and I can't double click.
Okay.
Okay. So let's drag AW there, and I've got Andy Wilton. And I've got Billy G. But then if I double click here, it don't work. That's what you're after, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So all you want to do, you do need the double click turned on because it's implemented via the double click. So you will need.
Entonces mira eso, Conchis, la forma de hacerlo. Préndelo.
You'll need that one turned on.
Préndelo. Ajá.
But in.
Pero en el código, mira
new,
ahí en el new event.
Yep, just trying to find it. Yep, there it is. In the new event, right at the start.
Agrégale eso. Para que si no hay drop ID, que no haga nada, que se regrese.
Okay. Okay.
That's easy enough.
Okay.
There you go. Well, comments are optional.
Okay.
But basically, the
First
trick,
will be in German.
the trick there is the calendar doesn't interact with the Clarion controls and so on for the drag and drop. So we're pinching the new event and we're emulating a double click. So that's why it has to be turned on. So double click here now, no drop ID, no nothing. We drag that. We've got a drop. We drag that, and we've got a drop. But we double click here, and we haven't got anything. And then we double click on that, and you will get your event accepted, not the new event. There you go. That should do it.
Entonces la forma de poder brincar eso del doble clic.
Okay.
Sencillo, ¿no?
Yep. To be.
And can you just let her know? Oh, she's probably already got it, but that the 18.5 is available today now. So.
Sí.
Okay.
Ya salió la versión 18.5 del Kojak.
Okay.
También si quieres bajar eso.
Re-download the installer, the current installer.
And mainly, what is the changes there? Mainly
it's the registry
printer
and
the printing.
Oh, in the 18.5.
Yeah.
I had a quick look. There was nothing set the world alight, I'll be honest.
Right, but the printing, it won't GPF on you, right?
I don't know. Let's have a quick look. We had the printing one last week, didn't we? Should we have a quick look?
And the calendar is the 4.6.
Yes, but re-download.
Que bajes el nuevo. Que nada más baja la instalación de nuevo, la reinstalas y ya debes tener el nuevo.
Porque ayer bajamos el 4.6 o el viernes pasado. Es el nuevo, ¿no?
Sí, va a ir uno nuevo hoy.
Ah, hoy.
Sí.
Okay, then.
Hoy.
Today, right?
Yes.
There's a new one today.
Yeah. Today, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That means hoy. Today.
Oh, okay.
Dice que, pregúntale si en el nuevo ya va lo del calendario a calendario.
Claro. Pues lo mismo datos.
Where's printing? Oh, there you go.
Eso funcionaba, ¿no? Ya estaba arreglado.
No, eso todavía no estaba arreglado.
Ah, no.
Oh.
She asked if in the new one we can drag and drop from calendar to calendar.
No, they've not. Oh, hang on, that's still 18.4. Oh. That's still 18.4. It's okay, I've not changed it.
Oh. Yeah.
No, it's still 4.06. When I add that, right. It will be 80. It will be 4.07.
Oh, ok. Que todavía es la versión 4.06. Nada más bájala y vas a tener ahí el acceso al calendario, al Kojak nuevo. Pero cuando cambie eso, va a ser la versión 4.07. Todavía no la tiene.
Ok. Good.
Roberto, the Spanish webinar, is that every Saturday?
Saturdays and Mondays.
I nearly
joined on Mondays.
I nearly joined on Saturday.
Should have.
Well, I think I'm around this week, so if I am, I will join.
All right.
So, of course,
Be awesome.
I'll have to find out off the boss. Wendy will tell me what I'm doing, and then I'll
that works.
know accordingly. See that's better. So that the GPS working.
¿Ya viste, Ale? Ese sí funciona ya. Yeah. So it is fixed.
Oh
No.
no!
Boo.
Hang on, that was better. I'm sure that was better then. Just let me have a...
Bueno.
Okay, run. So we did printing, print preview, close, open. No, it's not.
No, it's not fixed.
I was going to say we could let Alejandro know, but maybe not.
Yeah, I was telling him.
That's a shame.
And he was happy, and then he's not happy.
He won't be now, no. Maybe I won't attend the Saturday one. Okay, well, we are way over time. We're 2.5 hours. So, but I think we've covered all the questions. We had a lot to cover today, so which was very good. It's always a bonus. Hopefully, everyone's seen something they like. And as always, the video will be converted overnight now, and it'll go into the YouTube channel tomorrow. So until next week, I shall see you all then. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.